Hello and good afternoon. Welcome to this week's incredible new episode of the Xbox Factor podcast. I am one of your hosts, Mr. Boomstick XL. I do apologize for the lateness or tardiness, if you will. This is Boomstick, and I had to go and get a COVID-19 test. I believe that we don't have, our neighbor did, and we just wanted to be, precautious. And we feel great, thankfully. Sorry for the few minutes delay in starting the show. Unfortunately, we had a little bit of a technical hiccup, and hopefully we will have everybody ready to rock and roll for 2+ hours of the best place where you can find, of course, Xbox news, review, and opinion. So let's start with one of the cogs that keeps running each and every week. Zemi Games, thank you for being here, brother. We super appreciate it. How the hell have you been?
I have been doing very, very good. I mean, as I I guess discussed on the last show this Tuesday, I just recently bought a Nintendo Switch Lite, and I've been playing the heck out of Pokemon these last 2 days, and I've been absolutely loving it. I've also been playing a little bit of Watch Dogs Legion, but Pokemon just keeps bringing me back. But yeah, man, I've been doing really, really good. Can't wait to jump into the rest of the show, man.
Well, thank you so much for being here, brother. Super appreciate it. Next up, now he is making his triumphant return. He actually is recovering still from COVID-19. The voice of the PlayStation of the show called The Trophy, Mr. Badbit. Welcome back, my friend.
Oh my goodness, it is something to be back, man. I'm still getting used to all the things, but luckily my breathing has greatly improved. Thank goodness, so I can start doing multiple shows again. And yeah, man, I'm just, you know what? First off, wear a mask, socially distance, all that stuff. Really, I really thought I was gonna die on Saturday before Christmas or after Christmas. That's the worst sickness I've ever gotten in my life. And it's all because someone in this household was not as precautious as they should have been. So really take all the measures you can, because it was luckily none of my family members had to go to the hospital, but we had those conversations. It is really weird when that Saturday I actually had to text some of my closest friends and just go, hey gang, this is what might happen. Just letting you know. I love you. And it was one of those. So I still know people like my good friend Bobby, the Nintendo guru. Luckily, he's off an ECMO machine.
It was. I had donated to his cause when it first up. I've never met the man. I'm hopefully, thank goodness he's getting better. But he's getting better. He did, according to the notifications we were getting. If you don't know who the Nintendo guru is, he's a gentleman. Yeah. He was actually on the Lord's podcast. I believe it was early last, and yeah, he was in really poor. Good to know that he's getting better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So everybody, really, shit's real. It's scary out there. It's scary.
It is. Yeah. Well, listen, we're glad to have you back, brother. Definitely, and we'll come down to you when we start all of this great news. But next, you know him as our internet man of mystery, all the way from. Please welcome Archimedes.
Thank you so much for having me again. The international man of mystery. Yeah.
You like that, right?
It has a certain taste to it. I might start my videos with that now. No, Boom, I'm really happy to be on the show today, and I'm so happy that Mr. Badbit is back. Proud of you. You fought this shit. Glad you are back. Vijay is also back again. I'm really happy. Yeah, we have the full band together, and we have some awesome topics. So I can't wait for today's show.
Yeah, it's here, and we do have some heavy hitting topics. And you know what? Real quick, we're gonna come back around Archimedes, but you did an incredible video regarding the Indiana Jones from Bethesda and why you believe that it is going to be exclusive and it has to be. I saw a lot of people going back and forth with you on Twitter, and most people agree, and we will come back to that topic. It is a hot one, sure, but making his after handling some family business, our very good friend, welcome back to the program. I find that you are well.
Yeah, thank you for having me back on again, Boom, and thanks for being patient with me.
Of course.
It's really appreciated, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting into today's topics.
No, to have you back, and I think if the people missed the technical way you answer questions, almost like a professional, game developer, and we definitely missed that banter that you bring to each and every show. And last, in no way least, our very who's incredible. I guess you can call it short. Was nominated. Please, VGHD, known as 3-Bit. What's going on? Welcome back.
Hey guys, it's good to be back. Good to be on the panel with Badbit and VJ and pretty much everybody. It's great to have the whole cast back after we had the break and everything. Yeah, I'm really excited to talk about these topics and thanks to everybody in chat who's along for the ride.
Yeah, it's great to have you back. I think some people in the chat are saying my mic is by. Yeah, so listen, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lead off the conversation. Zemi, you take it. I'm going to reset my my modem and see if we can fix. But if you have the notes, why don't we get into the bits and bytes section of today's show, which is the smaller topic, and that is the delay until 2021 of Hogwarts Legacy. Zemi, why don't you take that away, my brother?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it was yesterday or earlier today, an article came out and Warner Brothers made a statement and they said that the Hogwarts Legacy, the new Harry Potter RPG, was going to be pushed back until 2022. And it was, before then supposed to come out this year. What's this isn't necessarily super shocking because we have heard a lot of rumors about several games potentially going to be being delayed because of COVID, and I think it might also be safe to say that this is probably going to be the first of something that we're going to see repeated on as time goes on this year, with more and more games being delayed due to COVID. My personal thoughts on the whole situation is that, it's really disappointing. It's very upsetting. I'm probably one of the most outspoken people on the panel here at least of being very, very excited for this game. But I think ultimately it is also probably a good thing that it's getting delayed, because that means that these developers are going to have more time to put towards, making this game what it needs to be. And for me, as a huge Harry Potter fan, it's been so long since we've had a very good Harry Potter game, and I definitely want this one to be as good as it can possibly be, the best that it can be, so we can hopefully potentially get more sequels down the line. And we've seen this December or last December, whenever Cyberpunk came out, what exactly can happen whenever a game comes out and whenever it probably shouldn't. So ultimately, I think it's a really, really good thing that Hogwarts Legacy did get pushed back. It's still very, very disappointing nonetheless. But Archimedes, man, what do you feel about this Hogwarts Legacy getting pushed back? And then also, do you how far out do you think that this is going to reach? Do you think that we're going to see a lot of games in the months to come be delayed? Or how do you feel about that?
Well, first, yeah, of course, I was really looking forward to the Harry Potter game. It's been a long time since we had a decent one, and I was excited for it to come out this summer. But I'm always come out with the Miyamoto quote. Yeah, a delayed game is just what is eventually better for the game. However, the second part of your question is the interesting, probably the more interesting one. The question about other games getting delayed as well, and I think we will see that over the course of this year a lot more than we did last year, to be honest. Because, well, I mean, the lockdown is still going on. The situation is not changing at the moment, and it will take a couple of months till we are all vaccinated and things will get better. But up until then, we have just a continuation of 2020. The difference between 2020 and 21 for the game development is, though, that the games that came out in 2020 were developed for the most part before COVID. Yeah, only the final stages of game development, the polishing and everything, happened in home office and during the lockdown. Now, the games that are scheduled for 2021, those are in their main development phase, developed from home with all the things that are going on, and that will lead eventually to a lot of delays. I'm seeing it in my company as well. We can all say, yeah, working from home, it just works, but it is different. It is different than working in together as a team in the office, and we are just not as efficient as we would be in the office when we are working from home. And the same will happen here. We have seen it at the end of the year. Valhalla came out buggy. We had Cyberpunk coming out with a lot of bugs and so on. We've seen it with a lot of games. And developers will take care of that now. They have seen the shitstorm, and that's why they will rather delay the game. And I think we will see a lot of games getting delayed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And you know, that what you said right there, you know, just because the developers are still able to work on it at their house, you know, you make a very, very great point there. And you know, it's not like working from a studio, you know.
Yeah, it's just different.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. Badbit, how do you feel about this? Do you agree with me and Archimedes in the sense that we're probably going to see more delays in the future? And then how do you feel about Harry Potter being delayed?
I have no feelings about Harry Potter whatsoever. So like, I know my co-host Kyle loves Harry Potter, man. Like that's his jam. He was like, he every time he talked about this game, he's like, this is his dream game. So of course there's a little disappointment in it, but I do like how they have come out so early in the year and going, hey gang, so this is what's, don't look forward to this. This is not a this year thing. This is a next year thing. And I really appreciate that. I definitely assume that most games we have seen or not seen have been delayed by several months. Like we're even talking about, you remember like Halo, right? Like I bet if there was not a COVID situation around, we would have seen that game come out way earlier this year than what it's going to be. So to me, yeah, you're definitely going to see a whole lot of games. Like I remember, I was looking for Far Cry. I thought Far Cry was supposed to be this February, and all of a sudden they're like, oh no, we'll announce the date. So like they don't even have a date for that game. So yeah, I think most games are going to get pushed back. This is, I think, going to be a very light year for games, and that's something that we have to, as like Archimedes says, like working from home works, but it's not as efficient. We as consumers have to understand that. We can't be so, hungry for the hype as we often are. We have to be understanding of the development woes of what we're in right now, and that there are way more bigger things at hand. So yeah, definitely more games are going to get, bumped out of the year. But hey, listen, as long as we're still getting games, I'm all in.
You know what? As long as we're still alive, how's that?
Oh yeah, that too.
Yeah. So you know what? It's funny. How do I sound? Does the chats can just hit me up? Is my botting gone?
It is so far.
Sound good.
Knock on wood.
Okay. All right. So we're knocking on wood. So of course I'm banging on my head. Where did we leave off at? Because I heard Joe talking about the delays, and yes, I think that is going to be a situation that we have to be patient with. I think that with the fact that COVID has come back and we have another strain, people aren't rushing back to the offices. Folks, listen, real life is real life. We have to make sure that that if a game is delayed, we have to understand that, like Joe was saying, working from and listen, here's the thing. I think as we move forward in the world, remote working is going to become something that a lot of developers are going to do, because of the fear of COVID. And I think once we are all vaccinated, we should be good. But 2021, even though it looks like it's going to be an incredible year for gaming, I don't know if it's going to be as packed with games now. And again, that just goes to show you how incredible 2020 was, because considering it started very early in the year, we had a lot of gaming. I mean, our backlogs are all 10, 15 titles deep now because of the games released in 2020. But who didn't get a chance to speak on this particular topic as of yet?
VGHD and VJ.
Okay, so let's get the VJ. VJ, what are your thoughts on the bytes and bits to open the show? I mean, do you have any concerns?
I've been listening to Zemi and Archimedes' comments, so I think I'll point my commentary around that, and obviously the PR piece that you kindly sent over, and what that pretty much states is that they can't deliver upon the planned release schedule for reasons unknown to us, right? And those reasons are kind of ultimately hidden behind a promise to meet our expectations. So I would say the potential is there for Harry Potter, and we want it to be good, as we do so many other games, right? So, but only if you fulfill it, which very few studios do at the best of times, let alone the conditions that everybody's having to work in or under right now. I mean, time can help in instances, but it didn't really help Cyberpunk, right? Even though I thoroughly enjoyed it on the Series X, I thought it was a fantastic experience. But anyway, not to digress too much. So I'm kind of leaning towards what Archimedes mentioned recently, well, today and recently, and in the previous year. So Happy New Year to everyone, because I've obviously been off. So, but the fact that we've seen such occurrences, such press releases towards the end of 2019, more so prevalent in 2020, and perhaps unprecedentedly so during 2021. I hope not, but we find ourselves in this situation. I think everyone is finding life arduous and testing in some shape, form, or matter. It's not sort of exclusive to the gaming industry. I think Mr. Badbit and all of us have experienced some sort of difficulty. I think Boom, at the end of the day, all we can do is just support each other with kindness and well wishes. As I've said before, in terms of developing and producing a game, and we've covered this so many times, especially over a long period of time, is an arduous and risky business, and you need a cast iron stomach for it. So hats off to the guys and gals that are working hard to deliver us, our favorite form of entertainment, if I'm maybe so bold to say so. Game development is a strange one, because it's a thankless task, really, unless the end product has been conceived and executed well. And money and time, sort of only go so far, and there are only sort of two sides of how can I put it? A myriagon. It's a polygon with sort of 10,000 sides to it. So that's the best sort of description I can give you. So, but on a positive, or perhaps on a more inward-looking note, I think there's a lot to be grateful for right now, Boom. A lot to be getting on with in terms of games that are available to play and enjoy, especially over the busy Christmas period. I mean, I haven't even scratched the surface in terms of the games I'd like to play. I've been too busy with Game Pass. But and again, it's what's available to us right now is of the likes of that we've never seen before. And again, hopefully that the studios have learned over the previous sort of year or so, or coming up to a year since COVID broke out, and hopefully that they've learned how to cope, and hopefully their country's infrastructure also helps them, to produce it, whatever it is that they're working on. And so in that sense, in a positive note, there's a tremendous amount to look forward to. And I know Zemi's a big fan of Harry Potter. So for his sake, and I guess on behalf of all Harry Potter fans, I hope that the Hogwarts game, sort of coruscates the year 2022. So
yeah, I mean, listen.
Those are my thoughts. Yeah.
I mean, look, the bottom line is that we expected it in 2021, and if we've learned anything in 2020, regardless of how you personally feel of Cyberpunk. Like my brother has 400 hours into it, right? He loves it. Zemi absolutely loves it. Hundreds and hundreds of hours. Everyone has a different experience, but if we have learned anything from CD Projekt Red, it is not to release a product that A, is broken, and B, is going to hurt your IP. And even though they sold a ridiculous amount, I think it was over 13 million copies, that precludes the returns. It still hurt the brand. It still hurt the reputation of CD Projekt Red, and we certainly don't want to see this happen to Harry Potter.
And just to add in, it's also the same publisher, because Warner Brothers published Cyberpunk, correct. And they're also publishing Hogwarts Legacy. So if anything, it just shows that maybe Warner Brothers has learned a thing.
Maybe that's definitely true. Listen, before we get to 3-bit, let me just thank some of the people that dropped super chats in here. The first one of the day comes to us from our very good brother, Smitty Smith, drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says, hello, I just wanted to say I'm glad to see Mr. Badbit is feeling better. Salute, brother, the Book of X. And indeed, we all are. We also have Stubbs Gaming, our very good friend from across the pond. He drops an outstanding $2 super chat and says, I hope VJ had his tea savorly, I think that's how it is, and chips at a good done. I don't know. I guess that's a store in your neck of the woods. I've never heard of it, but hopefully you did have your tea and chips. Kirby Louise, our very good friend who is a developer, OPS by the way, he drops an outstanding $10 super chat and says, well, there was no Switch Pro reveal at the NVIDIA event, so I owe a super chat to the channel. Here's hoping that Jensen Leather Jacket Hang pulls a Switch Pro out of his oven in the near future. Yeah, it's coming, man. It's definitely coming. And our very good friend, you know him as the voice of the Basement Radio Arcade podcast on Wednesday evenings. Enrique drops an outstanding $2 super chat. Enrique, hopefully you and the family are well, and of course staying safe in your neck of the woods. Salute to Boom and the panel. Well, salute to you, my brother. Thank you so much. But 3-bit, are you disappointed with Hogwarts being delayed until an unspeculated time in 2022?
Well, I just want to say I'm up there with Zemi and wanting to revisit this universe again in some capacity. I'm personally fine with the delay. A lot of games should be delayed due to COVID.
Right.
And I know that may sound off like, what? Why? But unless your studio beforehand has adapted to your production pipeline being online studios, like Supergiant Games with Hades, where they have really adapted to developing games online. And they talk about what their process is for doing so. It's definitely tougher for bigger studios with hundreds or to thousands of staff members and organizing those teams. You constantly have to be in communication with engineers, animators, modelers. In fact, I was working on an undisclosed project and they had to make a harsh deadline, but they couldn't get in contact with an engineer because his power went off that day. So working from home is a different set of challenges in itself. I'm always pro delaying your games, whatever you need to do to make your game better or to make it easier on developers. Making games is already incredibly difficult, requires teamwork and a lot of testing, and especially if it's a bigger game like I think this game is going to be. But yeah, I was even surprised that this game was announced earlier, so yeah, I'm looking forward to when it does come out. I have games this year that can hold me over for sure. Games that are coming up. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, but I'm also, like you said, Boom, if Cyberpunk is, if there's a lesson to be learned, it is like, go ahead, delay your game. We can wait. And I know a lot of fans usually how it seems to happen is they get pressure from the fans, they get pressure from the board members and everything. Just spend the time, make the game great, because that is what people remember. People remember the first impression of something. more so than you fixing the game months down the line. They always remember what it was when you released the game. So, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, and I agree. I think that we always talk about the Miyamoto quote about how a delayed game could be good, but a bad game is always going to be bad, right? So, I think this is the best move, but again, wasn't a major Xbox topic. We're getting to one right now, but because Zemi's such a fan, I thought it'd be fun to address it and kind of get his opinion on it, because obviously, out of the entire crew, he's the one probably looking the most for that game. And as much time as he spent in Cyberpunk, I would imagine he's going to spend in Hogwarts for sure. But I do want to move on to the next big topic. Now, this one is pretty interesting. And I think we kind of knew about this already, but we do have a story pulled from Gaming Boat where we now have confirmation of everything that is currently going on. And apparently, Microsoft has reportedly been in talks with basically every major publisher about bringing third-party games to the Xbox Game Pass Ultimate service. And obviously, they would be added to the recent EA Play deal, which, according to the report, is only the tip of the iceberg for Phil Spencer's big Xbox Game Pass plans. And again, in the story that I pulled from Gaming Boat, you know him as the great Jez Corden of Windows Central, who is, of course, the second half of the Xbox 2 podcast with friend of the show, Randall Thor 19, said a few things during last week's podcast that was so interesting that it started getting picked up by a lot of the news sites. Now, here are some of those quotes that are pretty interesting, and we're going to break it down what it exactly means. He says this: "I've heard that, yeah. There have been some kind of talk about a more persuasive partnership between Microsoft and Ubisoft for Game Pass, meaning that the rumors of Uplay Plus that is currently available on PC could in fact be coming to Xbox Game Pass this year." Now, if you don't know what that is, it's basically Ubisoft's version of Xbox Game Pass, meaning that you pay for the year or a monthly service fee and you get all of their games in this service day and date as they are released. And that is incredible. I don't have a PC. So now I have a new PC that could play games, but I'm not playing games on this PC. I play on my console. So for anyone that has a banger PC and has Uplay Plus, it's a great deal, especially if someone like me who buys just about every Ubisoft game that comes out. But that would be such a big deal if, in fact, it does get added to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. He continues, though. He says, interestingly enough, he went on to say that Microsoft has actually gotten in touch with virtually every major publisher in the industry to bring their games to Xbox Game Pass, which suggests the recent EA Play deal and the rumored Uplay Plus deal might just be the beginning of what is coming in the future. He also continues with two big quotes and says, "It's not as much of a revelation as you might think, because Microsoft didn't get EA Play and think we're going to stop there." He continues with, "They're all in on trying to get all publishers to bring their games to Xbox Game Pass. And it's not just Ubisoft either. I've heard they have been talking to basically every major publisher that in the entire industry, and obviously the first one they were able to lock down was EA." Now, Zemi, listen. Mm-hmm. We have talked about Xbox Game Pass on this particular podcast to the point of nauseum, but it's a good conversation because, quite frankly, there's nothing like it. I mean, the only thing that you ever hear compared to it is Netflix. And we have heard Phil Spencer say himself that he wants Xbox Game Pass to be as prevalent and as looked upon in a positive manner as Netflix is. And it appears that they are trying to get as many developers / publishers into this service to give more bang to the already insane buck that you get. What are your thoughts on this? Are you surprised that Phil Spencer and the team at Redmond are trying to basically get everyone and anyone into the service?
No, I mean, I'm not going to say I'm surprised. And I think just to kind of talk on that a little bit more, I think that, building and growing, relationships with publishers and developers all around the world has kind of always been really important for companies like Xbox, Sony, Nintendo, whoever it may be. And, with the rules now being changed for the gaming industry, and what I mean by that is, game services seeming to replace the old traditional way of buying games, kind of in a very similar way that we've seen happen to movies and music. That kind of seems to be the direction that the gaming industry is heading, to where less and less people are going to eventually be buying games for $60-$70 a pop, and more people are going to be subscribing to these services as Google Stadia grows, even more, as Sony, decides to, accept and adopt and use the same business model, as Amazon Luna continues to grow, and any other services out there continue to branch out and grow from that. I think that that's going to kind of become the new golden standard of how we as gamers get our media to play, right? The same way that it's happened with movies and music, of course. And, when this does happen, when this does take effect, I think it's going to be very critical for publishers like EA and Ubisoft to have other avenues for distribution.
Yep.
The more that people are going to be using these services, to watch movie or to play games on Game Pass, the less they're probably going to be willing to drop that big $60 price tag for a game. And because of that, Ubisoft and EA are going to need to have the ability to jump into that market as well. And of course, both of them already have streaming services, and that's a great idea. But these, streaming services that they have is only for their games. And the way that I, kind of look at it is, how many movie streaming services do you have, right? Chances are you don't have them all. The same way that you're not going to have all the game streaming services that come out. So it's very important for EA, Ubisoft, all these companies to jump ship and to jump on the ship with Xbox or Sony or whoever they can to get bundled with Xbox Game Pass, so that they can continue to, be able to distribute their games as much as they previously did. And this, of course, is, we're looking way in the future, but that's what Xbox likes to do. They like to look way in the future and see where gaming's going rather than just where it is right now. And I think that this is a big reason why we saw EA jump onto Xbox. And I think this is a big reason why we might see Ubisoft do the same thing. I think one of the easiest ways to kind of explain what I'm talking about here is that, it's not just Xbox versus Sony versus Nintendo anymore, right?
Right.
It's really Xbox versus EA versus Ubisoft versus Capcom versus Amazon versus Sony versus all number of other developers and publishers, right? It's everybody's trying to sell their software to kind of, everyone, right? And because of this, in a streaming-based ecosystem, I just think that a lot of these publishers are going to have a very hard time eventually getting, consumers to pay, the $60 price tags for their games, or the services like Uplay or like EA. What's EA's thing?
It's Uplay Plus.
Uplay Plus or EA Play, yeah. And so I think it makes a lot of sense why EA, a lot of these publishers might be willing to jump ship and get their games on Game Pass, because it's just a great way to future-proof their businesses and to maintain profitability, in the long term.
Yeah, and I agree. I think that, when you talk about Phil Spencer, when you look at what he has been doing since being promoted to his spot where he is currently in very late 2017, he has always had a very, very big plan for the Xbox brand and its millions of consumers. But what's interesting is how I personally, and I've said this before on this show as well, I think that, you talk about people when they're thinking they're playing chess. Well, he's playing 4D chess, because I think that he is 4 moves ahead of everyone. And again, I said this multiple times, sometimes when he says things, people don't understand the bigger picture. And I think that getting EA Play in here was a big deal. I think that if the Uplay Plus, try saying that 50 times quick, comes into fruition, it's going to be an even bigger deal, because you're going to be getting all of Ubisoft's first-party bangers day and date dropped for the price of your potential $15 a month. Now, granted, we could see this go up. I know people have been like, well, what if they raise it to $18? Well, I put it this way. There's over 200 games in there currently right now. So there's no doubt that even if it went up a couple of bucks, who cares? Because I think if you want the HD for Netflix, it's like $22. And you're not, you know what I'm saying? You're not
and Netflix is going up again.
And it's going
got that
up
email
again. Well, there you go. There you go. Joe, let's bring you in on the conversation. Obviously you cover PlayStation. We have heard Jim Ryan say that that something is coming for their online service. And we've discussed this privately and openly. We think that it's going to be PS Plus being merged with PS Now. We think that's what's happening. It's certainly not going to be an Xbox Game Pass scenario. I think it's safe to say that. How big of a deal would it be if you see Ubisoft join on? Does that open the door for many other developers to jump in on the Game Pass phenomenon?
I think it totally makes sense, and this is something I've always been trying to beat. This is not about selling consoles anymore, guys. Like, this is about getting you into Game Pass. Like, yeah, like the silly argument, well, Game Pass is going to go up eventually. I'm like, yeah, inflation, it's bound to be $20 one day, of course. But what's better, $20 a month or $70 for games, right? Like, we were talking about that on the trophy room, where we're talking about Returnal, and we're like, Returnal looks awesome, but does it look $70 awesome? Like, that's going to be a question. And when we talk about competition, it's not so much about competition. EA is not going to overtake and be this huge distribution center. It is about distribution, right? So, like, what is Game Pass but another way to distribute games to consumers? That's what Amazon Luna is for the most part, right? That's what I think Google Stadia is going to start pivoting to as well, where I think all electronic companies, I don't think Microsoft is special, or Phil Spencer is like this guy with the crystal ball here, sees where technology is going in terms of cloud, and they want to see what they can do with the cloud in terms of how we can, again, distribute services and bring those services to their consumers. So Phil Spencer really is looking at it, and so is everyone else. I mean, that's why Sony and Microsoft signed that deal together, so that Sony could get their cloud services on board with their platform, is because they both see in 10 years, the PlayStation 6 is not going to look like what it is today. Same with whatever the Xbox Series is. They're going to start looking more like pucks. They are going to start looking like Apple TVs.
Yes.
So, like, this is that one step. Like, EA, Ubisoft having their own thing, that's cute and all, and that is something that they can have so that they can make the most money and pure profit off of. But when you're taking a look at Game Pass and what it's doing, it only made sense when they purchased EA Play that they would be going and knocking on other IPs' doors, because with these services, you need all the content that you can absolutely get your hands on. Like, even with 23 studios, even with all the Bethesda, oh my God, Indiana, like, even that is not going to be enough for Microsoft to retain customers. You still need more and more content. That's why every week, you're like right now with Netflix, they announce every single week is a new movie in 2021. Like, that's how much content not to say you need a new game every single week, but that's kind of the content that you need. You need a lot of games to hit that ecosystem so that people stay there. Because, I mean, look, theoretically, if EA Play and Ubisoft were on holiday, or Ubisoft rather, you would have had most of a good game at launch, Valhalla, Watch Dogs, Phoenix Immortals. You would have had that all for $15.
Yeah.
Right. What better value is that? And you're having now people try out more things. It totally makes sense. And Microsoft knows now that they are in front of the ball right now. Right. They know that they have something, and I think their biggest competition, if I'm Microsoft, I'm looking at it right now, is Amazon with Luna. And that's really like they really want to get in front of Luna and have that content. I think what's like I don't think just because Microsoft has EA Play that Luna can't, or in the future PlayStation can't. Like I don't think there's any type of exclusivity there. I think the thing that's going to keep people there is Microsoft's exclusive IP.
Yes.
So,
yeah. I mean, again, it seems like the plan is coming to fruition when looking at it, again, from a bigger picture, because one of the concerns and many talking points for lots of shows, not just this particular one, in the last couple of years has been Microsoft's first party. And it appears that the drought is nearly over. And when you look at the game production that is going currently on at Microsoft with 35 plus studios, teams within 23 studios, and you correlate that with all of these knocking on the doors. First, it's EA Play. Then it's potentially Uplay Plus and whoever else is going to be coming. The content influx that's going to be coming to this service, even if you are a PlayStation guy or gal, you're going to have to look across the aisle and say, you know something? I'm not getting rid of my PlayStation Nation banner, but I think I got to get an Xbox too.
Yeah. And I mean, that's like, because like when Kyle and I were talking about, oh, what if Indiana is exclusive? We just look at each other, just play it on Xbox. And then Kyle's like, yeah, just play it on PC. Like, yeah, I think Microsoft also gets to tote around and make these deals right now. I don't think they would have been able to a year ago if also they didn't have 15 or what is it now, like 20 plus million people on that platform. Because now Ubisoft sees, oh shit, 20 million people are going to possibly search for speak. Yeah. And that's the people are going to flock to that. Again, it's about the future distribution. Is the Game Pass the end all be all? No, it's just that other sector, just like with movies, music, or what happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely. That's a great point. Archimedes, let's get you in on the conversation there, brother. With all of that's going on with with this particular deal, Jez Corden, obviously we trust Jez. In Jez we trust, I should say. We do like what he brings to the table. We know that he's very no nonsense. He doesn't promote rumors, or he won't run with the story that he found on Reddit. The guy is legit. So if he's hearing this, rest assured that it's true. And if he's talking about it publicly, but you better believe that he checked all his sources. Do you think that with again EA Play already in there, Uplay potentially coming, and we have on good authority that is going to be announced soon. How big can Xbox Game Pass really get?
It can get a lot bigger, and that's what Microsoft wants to do, and that's why I would be surprised if they didn't talk to all the publishers, not just Ubisoft, but Capcom, everyone. They're talking to everyone. They want to have as many publishers and games in there as possible. Uplay would be, of course, big for them to get. I still can't imagine that if Uplay comes to Game Pass, that the games will be day and date. It's something still need to wrap my head around, but we will see how it turns out, whether it be a more EA Play-like kind of thing, where the games come after 6 months or so.
Right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or if they really come day and date. Because Game Pass Ultimate costs as much as Uplay Plus does today. So
yes.
That's just what my thoughts. But that's not where I want to go with this. The thing is, Microsoft wants to grow Game Pass. We have said that multiple times. For them, it's not about console sales or anything. It's to grow the ecosystem. And the ecosystem has a basis, and the basis is Game Pass. It's your entry to xCloud. And with that, you can play basically on every device that has a screen. Soon, not right now. Right now it's locked to Android, and it will come to iOS soon. It will come to PC soon. We know about some smart TV deals that will happen in 2021, and they will extend that. And like Joe said, the important thing for such a subscription service is to keep people in the subscription service. There's always this one game. When Halo comes out, a lot of people will subscribe to the service just to play Halo. But then your question as the provider of the subscription service becomes, how can I keep the people in there? And that's, of course, with content. And you need diverse content. You can't just rely on a certain genre or a certain publisher. The publisher being, in that case, Microsoft themselves. Yeah, they need other publishers in there. They have EA now. They try to bring in Ubisoft and a lot of other publishers. Because what they achieve with that, and I think this is what they are trying to do very aggressively during 2021, is they will try to make people think about, when you say subscription service, Game Pass, because there will be a lot of others. Yeah, we have already Google Stadia out there. We have already Luna out there. We know that Sony is going to do something with PlayStation Now. We don't know really whether they will try and copy Game Pass, but they will definitely make that more attractive in some sort of way. But what Microsoft wants to do is, if you think about today about a movie or a series streaming service, everybody thinks Netflix. Of course, there are a ton of others out there that are worth their money as well, but everyone, the first thing that comes to mind is Netflix, and they want to be the same thing for video games.
Yep.
Yeah,
couldn't agree more.
Yeah, and that is their target with this. And for that, you need these big publishers. Everyone knows EA. Yeah, everyone hates EA, but everyone knows and plays their games, and maybe just for the sports games. Yeah, and a lot of people always, I'm so tired of the Ubisoft formula. But those games are huge. Yeah, they are one of the biggest games out there. Assassin's Creed Valhalla was a huge game. Yeah. And they have a couple of other bangers coming, this year. We know about Far Cry 6. We know about Beyond Good and Evil, which will come eventually, and so on. And Ubisoft is big, and that is what they want. They want to connect the mind of people with a subscription service, game subscription service, that's Game Pass. That's what they want to achieve, and getting Ubisoft in there is the absolute right move to do that.
Yeah, and I agree, and I think it's going to happen. And actually, I cannot wait for it to happen. VJ, let's get your opinion on this. For someone who has seen both sides of game development through both retail and development, this is a big step for Microsoft, because I mean, it's safe to say, and again, I've heard from private channels that they're well over 20 million. They just haven't announced it yet. I don't know if they're waiting for 25 million or 30 million, but the person or persons I spoke with, and I did speak to multiple sources on this, they're well over 20. They just haven't talked about it yet. You add UPay Plus to the situation, and you start getting some big time third-party games that drop in there, even potentially day and date. You're going to get people again from across the aisle, the PlayStation and Nintendo, players, to look at Microsoft in a different way, because they are going to be able to play the newest and best games for one low price of $15 a month. How important is this Uplay deal, or what Jez is talking about, to Microsoft and Phil Spencer's plan for the service long term?
I think last year, Boom, even before the systems were launched, we discussed quite heavily about the value propositions. It was no longer Microsoft sort of hanging on the coattails of Sony. They've went back to the drawing board, and they've come back with something specific, tailored to the strengths of their company. We won't go into all of that, but it's a standalone proposition. And I said to you, everyone would be hard pressed to choose between the two. And I think Microsoft are just pushing forward the unique selling point or advantage, or however you want to look at it, right? Because we're all invested into Game Pass to different degrees. So I can't say, it's the best thing since sliced bread, which is a bit of a contradiction, because it actually is for me right now. But anyway, I mean, on a more serious note, it does remain to be seen how these deals, and I'm talking about all the publishers, I'm not going to name them all, how these deals are ultimately structured and integrated into Game Pass. or are they something that are going to be sort of accessed and offered alongside Game Pass? And for what period, and therefore how long is the $15 per month subscription fee sustainable for? And I'm with Mr. Badbit, whether it goes to 16, 17, 18, even up to $20, it's incredible value. So let's not sort of pander around that point. There's always going to be rumors and piffle around how and when will a subscription service for gaming, and right now, case in point, is Game Pass, because it is really the only one out there for me personally. And I know others may sort of say, well, hey, Stadia and Luna, etc., and that's fine, horses for courses, becomes all dominant and unequivocally second nature for all gamers. And that's what I'm finding, Boone, from a personal experience. It's just becoming part of my gaming sort of circle environment, right, so to speak. So Game Pass will only become, in terms of what Microsoft wanted to become, because you obviously asked the question to our committees, how big can this get? And he answered, well, sky's the limit, and excuse me for paraphrasing our committee.
Oh, you're way better in wording than I am. So
I try. So Game Pass will become an invaluable part of any gamer's sort of permanent profile, be it a console or mobile device player, a light user, casual or hardcore gamer, if a gaming subscription service aims to make people dream. That's why we keep bringing up the topic, because that's what it does, Boom. It creates something monumental, perhaps, for us gamers going forward. And as Mr. Badbit mentioned, right, content plays a key part of keeping that dream alive. And hence Microsoft going out and saying, look, how can we enhance, how can we fortify what we've got right now? Xbox, for me, is the vanguard of this sort of, how can I put it, subscription initiative. But it will still take a little time. And I think with the things that you're hearing, Boom, obviously you're much more in the know than I am, because obviously you're far more well connected. You can see sort of ruffling, sort of going on in the background in the industry in terms of what moves will Microsoft may make next. Now, I know we've mentioned Nintendo and Sony, and looking at it from their point of view, and they may well have sort of entered this in this sort of next generation, and they think that they've braced themselves for anything that may happen in the console gaming industry. But then again, and pretty much all of a sudden, and it happens so many times, something comes along, and it may be Game Pass this time, and Phil Spencer with his initiative that comes and gives it to you in the neck. And we've seen it so many times, right? Game Pass is Phil's agenda and spearhead in order to pierce the status quo, which has been around for decades, right? Sony and Nintendo, on the other hand, may see all of this, and obviously your favorite guy, Jim Ryan, has come out and said, right, this is unsustainable, and they've sort of cited while citing and sort of sensing a modicum of insanity on Phil's and Xbox's part, right, and that's the best that they can do right now. However, I think they are, even regardless of what they're saying, and we know a lot of it is just nonsense, right? They are internally, I think, very, very wise to the fact that if you're leading from the front, you're providing guidance for those that are behind you, and who better else, and who, how can I say, best situated financially, right, to sort of make that trip down the road, especially with the cost attached to it, than Microsoft. So I think there's a benefit all round. I mean, you only have to look at Netflix, which again we've been mentioning in this conversation, have played their part by leading the way and providing guidance for Amazon, Hulu, Disney Plus. Forgive me if I'm forgetting any, etc., to inevitably catch up. And those other companies have done so in a fraction of the time. So at the end of the day, we can sit here deconstructing the Game Pass subscription service paradigm, one brick at a time. But my knowledge and foresight certainly has its limits, especially without facts, figures, and being in the actual know of ongoings at Xbox and PlayStation, Nintendo, etc. But Game Pass, for me right now, is far from a bloomer, a craven scooty or a gloomy pill. And I think as long as we consumers find everything on offer most agreeable, and then I guess I go back to the fact that we should continue to celebrate an era where there was once an abundance an absolute bargain, since we really don't know what the future holds. So that's my sort of short take on it, Boom. There's so many aspects to this, Boom. It's really difficult to cover everything.
Yeah, but you know what? Though you flip all the switches for sure. You definitely brought a point of view to it that again gets incorporated into the overall conversation. I think that everyone enjoys. But let's get 3-bit in on the conversation. But 3-bit, before I do, let me just catch up on some of these super chats that have come in. Straight Edge drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says, "Damn, that new Medium trailer looks dope. Spend some more money, Microsoft." Dude, listen to me. I think that they have already been purchased. I think that we're going to get an announcement of 5 of them, 3 to 5. I'm not saying when, but it's certainly going to be after the ink dries from the Bethesda deal. I think they're holding off making any more acquisitions until that is officially done, because I don't think their lawyers could take any more work on the table. And obviously, once Bethesda is done at the end of February, early spring, I think we're going to get some big announcements. I think Bloober Team is one of them. I mean, if you just look at what they've done, you just have to tip your hat. The Medium is going to be it's one of the biggest releases of 2021. I know we just started, but it is a AAA experience. It is a next-gen experience, and it is an exclusive to Xbox Series X and S, and of course PC. And it is a big deal. That's a talented team that brings the horror genre to a portfolio in Microsoft that they don't currently have. And you know what? You could take, a new IP from them, like you got with the Medium, because I'm sure they have a lot cooking, and they, along with someone like Asobo Studios, like it's almost a sin upon the gaming gods that these two studios are not a part of Xbox Game Studios. It's just, and it's going to happen. I just don't know when it's going to happen. But we have another one. Nightwolf 3186 drops an outstanding $5 super chat. Says, "Have a great show, guys. Again with the fire topics. Can't wait for KOTOR topic." Yeah, that's coming, and I think it's happening. Pixel Bit G, good friend of the show, he drops an outstanding $2 super chat and says, "Microsoft is still in contention to buy WB as per IGN." That's another one, folks. That's another big one. But 3-bit, for you personally, what they seem to be doing with Xbox Game Pass almost on a weekly basis is unprecedented. And with Jez Corden's inside knowledge to that, they spoke to every publisher in the industry, and the very heavy rumors that Uplay Plus is coming. It seems like, a couple of months ago, we could have said, can Xbox Game Pass get any bigger or better? Apparently, it can. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think adding Uplay adds incredible value to already one of the best services out there, which is Game Pass. It's definitely industry changing because not only is Microsoft adding all of their first party games on the service, not only is EA Access now a part of a Game Pass, but adding Ubisoft on top of that is just amazing for gamers. And if it happens, it's sort of showing that Xbox is not stopping in terms of adding value to Xbox, and they're getting ahead of the game, knowing that Google and Amazon are also trying to gobble up publishers. And it's definitely a good way to keep people on the service and maintain profitability. And I think it's definitely a possibility that it won't be adding to the $15 of Game Pass, but it would act as an add-on. That way they can sort of argue the fact that, like, hey, it's still $15, but if you want this, you can add an extra $5, $10 or whatever the price is. So I think a lot of people do need to get in the mindset that Microsoft is no longer in the console versus console race, where I would argue PlayStation is sort of still in that mindset, especially as Jim Ryan was saying, it wasn't a sustainable service, right? They are expanding the brand on what they believe Xbox should be. And when you buy an Xbox, you should know what comes with that purchase. You get your first party games with Game Pass. You have the ability to play on your phone. And I think getting people into the ecosystem it's like it's going to be easier for Microsoft over time. I think it does open doors to other investments and other developers. And like Badbit was saying, I think a lot of people over time are going to start looking at the price of games, which is now $70. It's increased, right, over the
Yes.
generation. And they're going to look at Game Pass and see you getting the game for a monthly subscription, and they're going to go over there. And if you ask anyone if they would rather pay a monthly fee having access to hundreds of games or on Game Pass, or paying the full price for those hundreds of games to own it, I think the scales are going to slowly weigh in Microsoft's favor. And I think Netflix is a good example, as we've heard throughout these conversations, in owning the future, a path I think Microsoft is on. Blockbuster had the option of buying out Netflix, right? And they laughed them out the room. And look at Blockbuster now. There's one left
in the whole world.
Alaska.
In Alaska. Yeah.
The monopoly, man. They own it all.
Yeah. So if anything, these deals do solidify the future proofing of the Surface. And I think future proofing is a good word here. But yeah, anyway this goes, it's good for gamers. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to it.
Well, listen, folks, this is I think we're off to a fire start, and the flames are starting to get even higher, folks, because we're gonna hit two of the major topics of today's show. So strap in and get ready, and we're gonna start with the Star Wars one, and I bring that up for a number of reasons. Right now, Star Wars, thanks to both Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, are in the best way they have been in years. And that's thanks to The Mandalorian and what season 2 brought back to the Star Wars universe that the sequel trilogy took away. And again, depending on who you ask, some people love the movie, some people hate it. I am in the camp of I terribly disliked episodes 8 and 9, and I just wish they weren't canon. That's how bad they were. But to get back to the topic of the day, on Monday morning, we got information that Lucasfilm's games has been rebranded. And then, of course, on Tuesday, we got the big news that Indiana Jones was coming to the Xbox Series X and S as an exclusive IP developed by a company that is going to be a Microsoft first party in Bethesda, and developed by, of course, Machine Games, and executively produced by who, Zemi? Our Lord and Savior.
Todd Howard.
There you go. That's
I was muted. Todd Howard. We love him. Well, I do.
So according to the article that I pulled from Windows Central, once again, because they do some really great work over there, and they started talking about that the 10-year Star Wars exclusive deal with EA is officially DOA. And we got word that Ubisoft, who we just got finished talking about, with one of their studios, Massive Entertainment, is making an open world Star Wars game. Now, we don't know if it's going to be Assassin's Creed-esque or it's going to have a new flavor, but the game has been in pre-production for over a year. And they've been working close with Lucasfilm and Lucasfilm's games with Massive to get the concept correct on how they want to tell this open world Star Wars game. So, of course, we're going to take a trip down one of the places I enjoy visiting multiple times each year, and it's called Speculation Town. And I want to go to Speculation Town because even if I get it horribly wrong, well, we're in Speculation Town, so I can really say it doesn't count. Now, here we go. Look, the bottom line is one of the most prevalent and most respected and loved or beloved studios that makes Western RPGs is Obsidian Entertainment. They are going to bring us Avowed. They are going to bring us a bunch of other things. But one of the things that I think that they might be bringing us, thanks to this deal officially being dead and Lucasfilm Games rebranding, telling the world of developers and publishers that we want you to play in our world that obviously consists of Star Wars. Now, as great as BioWare was for Knights of the Old Republic 1, I think it's safe to say, and many people will argue, that Knights of the Old Republic 2 by Obsidian Entertainment was better. Now, considering that the deal has already been done for, of course, Indiana Jones, could we suggest, without smirking or crossing our fingers behind our backs, that Knights of the Old Republic 3 could potentially come to Xbox through the channels of Obsidian Entertainment? And I say that is a real good possibility because they have history with the franchise. They are one of the most revered RPG developers, and Microsoft apparently already has some deals in the works with Lucas Games. Zemi, I know I can go on for about 3 hours talking about Star Wars. This is a big possibility. People have been clamoring for a Knights of the Old Republic 3. We know that at some point it was going to come out and then got canceled. The EA deal is gone. It's officially dead, and people and developers and publishers could now play in the world of Star Wars. Why not bring Knights of the Old Republic 3 to the Xbox brand as an exclusive? It would sell millions and millions of consoles, but more importantly, besides selling consoles, which Microsoft doesn't really give a flying shit about, it's about getting you into Xbox Game Pass, which we just finished talking about. How much of a big deal would this be, and do you think it's possible?
Well, I think it would be a huge deal. Do I think it's possible? I think it's as possible of happening as it is of not happening with Obsidian. I would maybe say 50-50, but I really don't know. I don't really know how to quantify the likelihood that this could happen. I think that we will see another Knights of the Old Republic game. I don't know if it's safe to say that Obsidian would make it. I really don't know, how specific to get into that. But I think that all of us, gamers out there and all of us Star Wars nerds definitely, have been clamoring for a very long time that this is a game that we want to see. Whenever we, first heard that EA was going to be taking over Star Wars for games with their exclusivity license, and whenever this happened, like the very first thing that popped into my mind, like probably the very first thing that popped into a lot of other gamers' minds as well, was another KOTOR. If this happens, and I do think we will eventually, there will be a day that we will see this game. I don't think it's going to be Knights of the Old Republic 3. We've kind of talked about this on previous shows. We've played around with this idea before, and I think whenever Disney kind of scrapped a lot of the canon of Star Wars, they kind of reset the universe in a way. I think that pretty much means that Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2 kind of just never even happened as far as their universe goes.
Yeah, but I believe Revan is. I believe Revan is canon, though.
Sure, but all the things that happened during those games may not be canon. And EA, they didn't make Battlefront 3; they made Battlefront and then Battlefront 2. They reset what they did, right? And I would imagine they did that because Disney asked them to do that. Okay. I would imagine. I don't 100%. Know the specifics on that, but I really believe that we wouldn't get Knights of the Old Republic 3. I think that they would relaunch it. Bad Bit, you're raising your hand.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's not happening. It's not.
You don't think Knights of the Old Republic is happening at all?
Nope.
Gotcha.
So, like, real talk. I'm sorry. I'll let you finish your point. I get very excited with Star Wars.
It's okay. I'm getting really excited just looking at your smile right now. But if in a perfect world, if this was going to happen, I would actually prefer it not to be Obsidian. I love Obsidian. It's really one of those things where, like, I'm kind of torn in two, because I would love to know what a Knights of the Old Republic game in 2024 would look like if Obsidian made it. But at the same time, I don't want it to be one of those things where PlayStation people can't play the game. And I know, I already know, I know, but I just think that would be a terrible thing.
I listen, in the words of the great Richard Pryor, tough titty if you have a PlayStation and you can't play an Xbox game. I'm sorry. I think that is preposterous. But Zemi, we're always going to be on a different side of the aisle when it comes to that. But obviously, you are still a major
thing,
cop.
though.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Is this may already be something that's in the works that we don't know about, right? This may be something that EA had already been working on. They already put BioWare on. They're
BioWare is
hammering,
in no shape or form to do it. I tell you that right now.
Another studio, right? This
Maybe.
could be something that EA is already working on. They're already hammering away, and they would be stupid if this isn't something that they were already working on. But leaving it at that.
Okay, well, a couple of prefaces before I head over to Bad Bit. Our resident Star Wars nut, if you will. Here's the thing. First of all, EA I'll say this publicly. There is no doubt the reason why this deal was dead 3 years before it was supposed to be finished, because it was 2023. We just got into 2021, so they got 7 years. And in my opinion, EA fumbled the ball multiple times. Mm-hmm. They canceled Amy Hennig's game, which was why did you make a game that's like Uncharted with Star Wars? I say, are you effing crazy? I'll take 2, please. So that's that. Number 2, the only one in their roster, because I don't think I would give. We've seen what Respawn did that wasn't an RPG, and we're getting a part 2 of that game, and they did amazing. But I think that it's safe to assume, without being in the room, that Star Wars, or Disney, I should say, has lost faith in what EA can bring to the table. That's why this deal is dead. So, Joe, here's my question: if it's not going to be a Knights of the Old Republic 3, which you believe, and I'm right there with you, could it potentially be the High Republic, which just launched a book? Yeah, I think maybe 2 weeks ago, which I believe my brother's reading as we speak. Could it be the High Republic RPG from Obsidian? And again, let me ask you this, Joe. What if head of Obsidian, Fergus Urquhart, goes to Phil Spencer and says, hey, Phil, listen, we really want to do a Star Wars game, and we really want to do the High Republic. You think Phil's going to tell him no? I think Phil's going to go out of his way to say, yep, get it done, do whatever you want, and here's a bag of money.
So, one of the reasons why Old Republic is beloved in the Star Wars community, the hardcore fans love the lore in the first game. The second game, the one by Obsidian, is kind of the low point. Because some of the force powers get actually utterly ridiculous.
They do, yes.
So a lot of people really beloved that first game, so much so that like what they've done when they reset the lore, which was a very smart decision by Disney, probably the smartest one they've made since making the Mando, is say, okay, so we're going to take the things people love, reintroduce them, or put twists on them. So they've been sprinkling Knights of the Old Republic in throughout the lore.
Correct.
Revan was supposed to be in Clone Wars. He's a deleted scene. They actually have his model and everything in there. 1 second. So.
Okay, well, you know what? We'll actually come back to him because obviously he has something.
I'm good. Sorry. COVID stuff. So yeah. That being said, 1 second. Oh my god.
Okay, so you know what, Joe? Hold on just a second. We'll get back to you.
My terrible apologies.
Okay, are you okay now?
They didn't know I was recording. Yeah. But yeah. So they've been sprinkling the lore throughout the series.
Yes.
Very smartly. And even like they're alluding to it, like in Mandalorian, they have, I think, HK-87 droids, which was the upgrade to the upgrade to the HK-47 droid.
One of the best characters in Knights of the Old Republic. Without a doubt. KOTOR, he's one of the main characters for sure.
So the biggest rumor is that Star Wars didn't want EA to work on an Old Republic game because what they wanted to do was either A, use it as a foundation for either use it as their next trilogy or use it as the foundation to their next trilogy. So that is the reason why it's probably not a video game, because they have a higher scope for it. Also, in terms of like if they ever make an exclusive Star Wars game, whatever the case may be, I don't care where it is. I really don't. I'm just gonna play it That's where I fall on the exclusive thing. You can make it for PlayStation. You can make that thing exclusive to Stadia, and I'm gonna play that game. It don't matter to me. It don't matter to me one bit.
Okay. I mean, listen, again, I think we can all, it's safe to say that we would all play a new Star Wars game, but man, to get one up by Obsidian in High Republic would be a big deal. Archimedes, listen, I say it's not the biggest topic of the day. It's not. We have one that's even bigger than this. But for you, getting Obsidian to return to their roots in Star Wars seems more of a possibility on this particular Thursday than ever before, because we obviously, the EA deal was the sticking point. That deal is officially dead. That's confirmed. Yeah. That's not a suggestion. That's not my opinion. That is confirmed. And of course, there's, with the statement that came from Star Wars.com and the statement that came from EA, it seems like there's a little bit of, I don't want to say bad blood, but I was going to say maybe a banana in the tailpipe situation. I don't think they saw it coming, and rightfully so. I don't want any more Star Wars games from EA that's not made by Respawn. I want to see a Jedi Fallen Order 2. I definitely don't want to see a Battlefront 3. I definitely don't want to see a Star Wars game from BioWare. I have lost all faith in them, and they have too much on their plate as it is. So for you, is it a possibility now more than ever to get Obsidian to potentially do a Star Wars IP?
Okay, before I come to Obsidian, I want to touch on a few points you said. Otherwise, I think the biggest news about this is definitely that the deal with EA is over.
Yes,
and I think we are all happy about that. And it's not because EA doesn't get to make Star Wars games anymore. It's because they don't get to make them exclusively.
Correct.
They give other developers the chance now to also touch on that IP. And Disney or Lucasfilm, respectively, they are very careful when it comes to their IPs. And I think that is what happened here. They were just not happy about how EA treated one of their biggest IPs. The brand Star Wars is so powerful. It carries a very strong passion from the community. And you can't just go out there and make a Star Wars series or a Star Wars movie or so. They are very careful with that brand. And they had the faith in EA. And I think after the release of Battlefront 2, they probably were a little bit concerned about the reputation of their brand. Yeah. That being said, I mean, what did we get in like now 8 years where they have the exclusive deal? We got 3 Star Wars games in 8 years. And that is really not much. When you have such a huge IP, you got to do more with it. And that's what they are going to plan to do now. I mean, EA already came out and said they are going to continue to do Star Wars games. They have multiple Star Wars games in the making, is what they said. And that's totally fine by me. The important thing is we get a Ubisoft game, and with that, they open the door for other publishers. And like you said, Obsidian is definitely a candidate to do one. I mean, what do we know about Obsidian? We know they are probably the most busiest Xbox game studio right now. They have 4 games in the making. We know, of course, about Grounded. We know about Outer Worlds 2, and the big one being Avowed at the moment, of course, they are working on. But we also know that the director from Outer Worlds 1 is working on another IP, unannounced, that is not Outer Worlds 2. So they have a 4th game in the making, whatever that may be. And that game is probably years out, no doubt. But why shouldn't it be a Star Wars game if the IP is out there now? If they have something in mind, if they have an idea for a good Star Wars game, may it be KOTOR, may it be something else. I don't think that they will do a KOTOR 3 directly. They could do another Star Wars game in the vein of KOTOR, yeah. But anyway, and even if it's not Obsidian, there are tons of other Xbox studios and, of course, tons of other very talented studios out there that could touch now on that IP. And that is what I'm really excited about, that other developers and other publishers outside of EA get the chance to do it. may it be Obsidian or not. Of course, Obsidian is an incredible RPG studio, and I would love to play a good Star Wars RPG. We haven't had one since KOTOR.
So, no, absolutely. Could you imagine if the Coalition got their hands on a Star Wars license?
Oh, dude, that'd be amazing. That'd be amazing.
It would be ridiculous. But listen, great points as always, dude. Great points as always. Let's get VJ into the conversation. VJ, with this deal being officially dead and the rebranding for LucasArts Games being unveiled Monday, and hearing directly from the company that they want other publishers / developers to play in the Star Wars universe, I think it's safe to assume that if Phil Spencer is keeping his ear to the floor, and we know who he is, getting an Xbox Star Wars exclusive, regardless of whether it's an action RPG or just a straight up RPG, would be a big deal for the portfolio. Is this a possibility?
Boom, just as a public service announcement, there seems to be some demo work going on, and if it's coming through, then I'll happily bow out of the show at this point. So just let me know if it's coming through.
Yeah, no, you're good. You're good.
Okay.
You're good.
I haven't played the specific game you mentioned, so I can't really comment or request a sequel, right? Or I guess in this case, a threequel. I have to also admit that I haven't as yet had the pleasure of playing and experiencing Outer Worlds from Obsidian. And as you can probably tell from the track that I'm taking, kind of sparing a few thoughts for Obsidian, especially since I live pretty close by to them. So if you've got any requests, I'm happily dropping a postcard through their mailbox for you. So therefore, my first and foremost hope is that Obsidian smoothly sail through the development and production process of whatever they're working on or are focused on delivering right now, be it unavowed or a secret something else. I really don't know, but I know that avowed is something that I'm looking forward to, and I'm assuming that everyone on the panel is as well. It's Star Wars is a tricky one in general. I wouldn't want to interfere or impose on Obsidian or anyone else by requesting them to make a specific game, especially since license-based games are tricky, frustrating, bureaucratic, and can more often than not impede on one's creativity. And I would hope Phil and Matt have the elementary understanding and comprehension of this specific fact. Obsidian, for me at least, are a different breed of creator, a studio with character and unique tools and processes, a hub of sort of creative savants, that a studio that's been built up over a long period of time. For too long, in my opinion, they've been under the demand and the heel of a publisher's boot, has sort of been at their neck and preventing Obsidian from truly blossoming, in my fundamental opinion. Therefore, what I want to say is that they should create and conceive whatever truly inspires them at this point in their lives. We have to realize that whatever Obsidian, with the Xbox's support, and that cannot be underestimated, to support whatever they want to do next, is because effectively whatever game you sign up to, you're signing away potentially the next 3, 4, or 5 years, depending on the scope and design of the project that a studio decides to work on. We know Obsidian is one of a handful of studios that everyone respects and holds in sort of, how can I put it, a hearty, pleasant and wholesome regard, not sort of like a prima donna studio, sort of Polyphony comes to mind when I mention that. But anyway, I don't want Mr. Badbit to bite my head off, so I'll just continue on along the lines of...
I don't know racing. You can tell me all the things. I'll believe it.
I would tell Obsidian or any other studio to pursue whatever they find joy in, since Xbox, boom, in my opinion, is supporting its internal teams in an unprecedented and unparalleled way at this moment in time. We can all see it, we can all sense it, and that's part of what the excitement is all about right now, boom. If indeed it turns out to be Knights of the Old Republic, so be it. No issues whatsoever, but not at the cost of Obsidian's potentiality. Why? Because for me, it's one of the studios that may, in the future, create something akin to the beloved sort of next, how can I put it, Mass Effect. And in that endeavor, I wish them well. And having said that, thanks for having me on the show today, Boom. It's been really, really good so far.
Well, yeah, and it's great to have you back for sure. Why don't you close out this topic 3 bit and give us your opinion? And again, you have a unique advantage, I think, over all of us because you're technically in the business and you work with a lot of these studios. With this veil pulled back from the Star Wars license, no longer in the clutches of the evil empire known as EA, how big of a deal do you think even Microsoft suggests it could be to get an exclusive by one of their developers for their platform, but more importantly, to tout on Xbox Game Pass?
Well, for one, I'm really glad that the license is finally opened up to other studios. I think knowing the history of EA with not just the Star Wars franchise, but also their licensing with Madden, which is a whole other topic, and how they are clutching that franchise as well, and doing it pretty lazily. So if I will say that, I think Lucasfilm are in the position where they seem open to the possibility of team ups with Microsoft for sure. Because if you think about the licensing history of Disney, they can be pretty lenient. But with Archimedes was saying, they can also they are very serious about you following their character or respecting the history of their character at the same time. So what do I mean by them being lenient? Well, if you think about just like different deals with Disney, and when I think about Disney or Marvel, which is the same company, allowing Spider-Man to be exclusive to PlayStation, and also for some time the Kingdom Hearts games with Square Enix being exclusive to PlayStation, and then again with Square Enix for Spider-Man and the Avenger characters only on PlayStation. And so yeah, I would personally love for them to develop a KOTOR 3. I could see it more being a reboot if Obsidian does tackle the game, just for the fact that Disney sort of rebooted a lot of older Star Wars stories, like we were saying, for whatever reason. But I think just playing Obsidian games now, I think they're one of the few companies that they do maintain their identity, and I think that's a huge worry for a lot of people. Is with more work, does their identity go away in some sense? And I think when I play a smaller game like Grounded, it feels like an Obsidian game. So I think it's good. And ultimately knowing that the history of Disney being open with developers, sort of giving them trust in a sense, with like basically what they did with EA. They let EA sort of go forward with the Star Wars franchise, and we've seen where it can be great, like with Respawn, or we could see where it could be terrible, like the initial launch of Battlefront 2. But I think either way, the cookie crumbles is going to be kind of great to see other people tackle not just the Star Wars franchise. If you think about all the other things that are underneath Disney in general, I think there's a lot of potential there, because Indiana Jones isn't necessarily a Star Wars franchise, right? But it is underneath LucasArts, so they just have a ton of IP that is out there, and I'm looking forward to some of these studios tackling it, even if it's not a huge studio like Obsidian. There's Microsoft has 23 plus studios, and I'm sure a smaller studio would love to also try out some of the Star Wars licensing. So yeah, I
like what Devolver said. It's like, we'd like to make a Star Wars.
Yeah,
that's dude. I would love to see what a Devolver Digital, like who they handed off to, what that game would look like.
For sure. Yeah, the Devolver is great. So
think about just like Fall Guys and like being in a Mando suit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely could see that. But again, I mean, listen, all I know is that it is, if you are a Star Wars fan, we have seen a turn in the direction that we have all been waiting for many, 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 many years. And again, we can thank the Filoniverse for this. We can thank Jon Favreau, and the next a bunch of movies coming out are going to have some big time directors. Taika Waititi is doing a movie. We have Patty Jenkins doing a
Rogue Squadron.
Rogue Squadron. I mean, like, wow. So we have some big time directors making some big time films. We have a lot coming to the Disney Plus service in the next 2 to 3 years. We got an Ahsoka show. We got a Boba Fett show coming this year. We have Mando season 3. I mean, it's a great time to be a Star Wars fan, and I think right now is the perfect time for people to get in line and start paying to license out these IPs. Yeah, Joe, what do you want to say, bro?
And one last thing, it is great because I know Kathleen Kennedy gets a ton of shit, but a lot of the Star Wars, like the problems with the sequel trilogies, the problems with all the licensing, all that fell on Bob Iger. So luckily,
Yes.
Bob Iger's out, and now they're able to actually bring some creative vision with Star Wars, and that's what I'm really excited to see because of Bob Iger, he wanted to really cut the fat LucasArts out of it and just license it and make it easy for them. And that's the one big thing with Iger out. Now we're actually going to see planned out Star Wars, because the one thing that, like, again, Kathleen gets a lot of shit for, but it is totally on Bob, is once Bob signed that deal with Lucas, he was just like, and we're making a trilogy. What's a roadmap? I don't give a shit. Just put some talented directors in there.
Yeah.
And now that is cleared out, I'm happy to see. I'm sorry, I think before.
No. It's perfectly okay. I mean, listen, we're all passionate Star Wars fans. Dreepit, anything else you want to add before we move on to the big topic of the day?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I wonder what led them to that decision of, okay, EA, you no longer get this.
I just think it's just, I think it's what Archimedes said. 3, well, it's technically 4 if you count the Squadrons game that just released this last year.
All right, I totally forgot about that.
I mean, but even then, and that shows you how minuscule the game really was. Not a bad game by any stretch of the truth, but not the game we all wanted. And when you look at the response from the game players, the people, the consumers felt about Battlefront 2, and of course the saving grace is Respawn. I mean, there's no doubt they're an amazing developer, and obviously we're going to get another Star Wars. But I think that is safe to say that is what led to it.
For sure, yeah.
Well, listen, folks, we are going to get into the big one. Zemi, you got to get on out of here. I know that we got you for a few more minutes. Do you want us? I'll go to you first on the next topic, or do you have to bounce right now?
Yeah, I could do the next topic real quick.
Okay, so so I have a couple of super chats. I will get them after the first topic is read, and then because Zemi's on borrowed time because we had to start late. Obviously, if you didn't know, Mrs. Boomstick and I had to go get tested for COVID-19. We are well, we are okay, but our neighbor has it, and we have to make sure. It's a neighbor we see every day, so we want to make sure that we weren't exposed as well. But let's get into the big topic of the day. Now, this one, it could have been topic number 1, but I figured we would wait until everyone funneled in. We got nearly 400 people here, and here we go. Now, obviously, one of the big insiders or Xbox insiders that we hear from on almost daily basis is Klobrille, and he has once again made some big time headlines with his prediction lists of the Xbox first party games releasing in 2021 through 2024. Now, before we go any further, remember, these are just his predictions. This is not set in stone, but he did say that this list is a pretty good one. Now, he is more right than he is wrong, and here is what he had to say. In 2021, we are going to be getting Halo Infinite, Psychonauts 2, As Dusk Falls, Grounded, and Starfield, along with Horizon or Forza Horizon Next. That's what he's calling it. He's not saying 5. He's not saying Japan. He's not saying anything. And those are the 5 titles. But when you add to this list for 2021, Tunic, The Medium, 12 Minutes, Bright Memory Infinite, The Last Night, Crossfire X, Stalker 2, Scorn, Second Extinction, The Ascent, and The Gunk, and Warhammer 40k Darktide. 2021 is looking to be an incredible year for gaming, but even more so if you are an Xbox Game Pass subscriber, because every one of those games are going to be in Xbox Game Pass. But this is where it starts to get really interesting. In 2022, he says the Xbox Series X and S will be getting Avowed, Everwild, Senua's Saga Hellblade 2, Forza Motorsport, Age of Empires 4, Wolfenstein 3, Arcane's Austin Project, Project Mara, Minecraft Something, Deathloop, and Ghostwire Tokyo. For 2023, he has Perfect Dark, Fable, State of Decay 3, Gears Next, Compulsion Games Project, which is supposed to be BioShock meets, of course, Uncharted, Doom Next, and he also says that this is where Double Fine Studios' new IP will be unveiled, Roadhouse Studios project will be unveiled, Halo Infinite, ODST, or something to that effect. He also says something from Rare and Machine Games' second project. Wow! And 2024 has Elder Scrolls 6, In Exiles, first-person RPG that they're working on, AAA, by the way, the ZeniMax Online project, something Fallout at this point, and something from the Obsidian Outer Worlds team, along with a bunch of other newly not announced projects. Zemi, look, this is the first time I have seen anyone put into a list the games coming out. But all I can tell you is that from now to 2024, my God, is there a lot coming out for the Xbox community? And of course, the consoles that we bought last year. What are your thoughts on what Klobrille had to say, and how accurate do you think he is?
So just starting off, I really, really love this topic. And I think that this topic is so fun. And in some ways, it kind of reminds me of being like a little kid looking at like the big pile of presents underneath the Christmas tree, like a week out, trying to predict what is in each box. Like, you know, I'm shaking them, I'm listening to it. I just want to know what's in each of the box. And yeah, that's what it kind of reminds me of. And I just think this is a really fun topic to speculate on and overall, yeah. I think that Klobrille is more right than he is wrong.
Right.
Now that doesn't mean that, you know, I agree with everything that he's saying here. I think his prediction on Starfield and Elder Scrolls is very, very correct. I also think it really falls in line with what I've predicted. I do think we're going to get Starfield this year in 2021. I predicted that we would, you know, maybe see it during the VGAs. That didn't happen. It kind of makes sense that it didn't happen because the Bethesda deal isn't all the way through. I wouldn't be shocked if we saw Starfield at E3 this year. The substitute, whatever it ends up being, and then seeing the game release later on this year. I do think that we will see Starfield in 21. I do think that Elder Scrolls makes a lot of sense to come in 24. One thing I do kind of disagree with is I definitely think his prediction on Avowed coming in 2022 might be a little bit generous. I don't know. It seems way too soon for them to pull out that, you know, to push out that game from what we've, you know, kind of seen and heard. I just think it's too soon for Avowed to be dropping in 22.
Okay.
But, you know, overall, what I really, you know, like about this topic is, you know, maybe he is right about everything. Maybe he's wrong about everything. Who knows, right? But one thing that this list does do, and what it does show us, is just how many amazing titles that we do have to look forward to, right? That we know that Xbox is making, or we really speculate, and we have reason to speculate that they are making this. And it really just shows Xbox's potential to push out games on a rapid basis, right? It's something that we talk about all the time on this show. They have 23 studios, they have, this many teams, they have such capability of pushing out all of these games, but we never really see it happening, right? And that's what this list kind of does. It kind of shows us what we expect that Xbox is going to be able to push out, and how frequently these games and what these games might be. And it really, kind of gives us a picture view of, Xbox's capability of creating and publishing games, rather than just saying they have 23 studios and talking about Halo one week and Gears the next week. I don't know. It just really gives more perspective into what their capability is, and that's one thing I think Klobrille's list here does very, very well. I think that he's definitely more right than he is wrong. I don't think he's 100% correct, but at the end of the day, this is a really great way of showing us what Xbox is capable of, and I think that that's really, really exciting.
Yeah, you know what, and you're absolutely right. Again, this is just his speculation. This comes to us in the form of something he posted on Reddit, which he does quite often, and of course was then picked up and retweeted, and then of course we saw it come across his timeline on Twitter. This is again a fun topic. Zemi, listen, thanks so much for being here, brother. Please enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much for being able to be here late, and of course fixing my giving me the heads up on how to fix this stupid botting issue, which I shouldn't have, but no longer is an issue. Before I get to Mr. Bad Bits, let me get into the private chat here and just read off. Mr. Bad Bits, you got to. Okay, you know what? He's got to go. We'll go to Archimedes. Joe, thank you so much for coming here, brother. Go take care of your family business. It's great to have you back. We'll see you tomorrow morning on Breakfast with Boom.
And there'll be no interruptions, I promise you.
Okay,
very much.
Don't worry about it, brother. Okay, so Archimedes, before I get to you on this big topic, I have to thank a few people. John B in the chat drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says, "Awesome panel today. Keep up the great work." Well, indeed, thank you for the super chat, and of course, thank you for the compliment. Thanaros, another generous friend of the show, he says this after dropping a $5 super chat: "Apparently, Japanese devs and Japanese fans are upset with Sony being American-centric. Have you heard about this?" Yes, as Thanaros. As a matter of fact, we talked about it on this Monday's Primetime Gaming. And I got to tell you, if you go back and you listen to it, I actually name dropped one of the Japanese analysts that said that the Asian community, the Asian gaming community, feels like they have been left behind by Sony, and I had made the assumption that it is possible that with that circulating, many of the Japanese developers that normally looked towards Sony for their third-party deals may no longer look that way and head over to Xbox, bringing us Neo 3 as an exclusive, maybe not showing up on the PlayStation. Who knows? But certainly go back and check that out. And I think that was the last one. No, we actually have a few more. We have Lord Roughness drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says, "Loving all of the moves Microsoft has been doing. My one gripe is drop an exclusive in Game Pass. Where is the TV ad? Hashtag Hivebusters, hashtag the medium." Yeah, they definitely got to do a better job. Hivebusters is one of the best pieces of Gears content in years. And if you have not played it, I definitely say it is worth your 3 to 5 hours worth playing. And I think that you're going to enjoy it so much that you're going to play through it a second time with your buddies. It's incredible, and it puts the Series X through its paces. Best looking game to date. And you can quote me on saying so. Reggie Mobile 9 drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, "Great show as always. I think not making a KOTOR game is a critical mistake. It's too popular of a title to ignore," and I agree 1000%. But Archimedes, when you look at this list and again, this is the first time anyone, and I mean anyone, has put pen to paper or finger to keyboard and made a list and a prediction list this stout. And if this comes to fruition with a game or two moving from one year to the other, again, this sets up Microsoft in a big way. And the conversation of Microsoft doesn't have any games added with the conversation that Microsoft has no strong first-party games goes completely like the dodo birds. Bye-bye. And I think that he is onto something with this particular list. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the main thought is the future of Xbox is exciting. I mean, if you look at this list, even if the release dates aren't coming or won't be like that, there's just an incredible list of really diverse, great games coming over the next 2 or 3 years. Yeah, and I think that's what every Xbox fan should be excited about. A ton of games that will come. I mean, if we look at that list, the games that he predicted for 2021, most of them are confirmed to release this year, and the others are heavily rumored. Starfield has been mentioned by every Microsoft executive when they talked about the Bethesda deal. So that's why I've always said in my videos that is why I really think that this game is closer to a release than we might think. And we know that Todd Howard is releasing his games is announcing his games very close to release, to the launch. If you remember, like Fallout 4 was announced like 3.5 months before it came out.
It was announced at that E3, and he was like, "Oh, by the way, it's coming out," and I think it came out that October.
Yeah, exactly. So that was 3-4 months, like something like that. Yeah, and that's just the way how he does it. The same happened, I think, with Skyrim. Was also like 4 months or so before launch. So yeah, I expect that game to come out this year as well. We haven't had a Bethesda game from the Bethesda Game Studios game since Fallout 4. Fallout 76 wasn't developed directly by them. It was just licensed out. So they had a ton of time to work on that, and I really think that we will see that game. And the others are more or less confirmed. The only thing is about Forza. I'm still not sure if it will be Forza Horizon or Forza Motorsport.
Well, Jeff Grubb says that he believes. Now, Jeff Grubb, if you don't know who he is, he worked for VentureBeat, and that guy is never wrong. And he predicted that we were going to get, instead of Motorsport, we were going to get Horizon 5 this year.
Horizon 5, yeah, I've seen that. That's why the rumor is out there. I'm still a little confused about that, because I know that Turn 10 is building a brand new engine for the next Forza Motorsport game. However, every other Forza Motorsport game, including an overhaul of the engine, took 2 years. Now they have 4 years, and if it doesn't come out in 2021, it will be 5 years of development time for a new Forza game. I'm not saying that's too much or anything, but it's just why I think it could also be Forza Motorsport that comes out, but I'm sure we will get a Forza game this year, maybe Horizon or Motorsport. And then when it comes to 2022, on his list, Avowed, Everwild, Hellblade 2, Forza Wolfenstein 3, I still think this could also be a 2021 game. All the last Wolfenstein games have been developed in a 3-year cycle. A 2021 release would give them a 4-year development cycle. So I'm just saying it is a possibility that it could also come out this year. But if not this year, I make a bet it's going to be next year. Then he puts Fable in 2023. I'm not sure either. Because again, the development time seems a little long then. We have to consider that Fable is already at least 4 years in development now, today. So Fable coming out in 2023 would be 6 years plus, 6.5 years of development time. That is a long, long time. So I'm thinking Fable could also be a 2022 title, with 5.5 years development time.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely possible for sure. Yeah.
Just saying. But overall, I think this is a fantastic list. It just shows you how excited you can actually be for the future of Xbox. My biggest question mark here is always, when are they going to start showing something from these games. They have announced a ton of games. They haven't shown any. That would be the icing on the cake. But overall, I mean, come on. How can you not get excited when you see that kind of first-party content coming? And there are still a ton of unannounced games. That we haven't heard. In this list is already missing one that we already know about now, the Indiana Jones game. So,
that wasn't on this list, which I thought was surprising because I don't think he has the info yet.
Yeah, it was 1 day after he put up.
Yeah,
that's Indiana Jones was announced. So
no doubt about that.
Could be on there, but I'm just saying,
it's Compulsion's game wasn't mentioned.
Yeah, the Compulsion game. Yeah, what are they cooking up? We know that it's going to be a third-person game.
Yes.
The rumor is that it's going to be a Uncharted meets BioShock type of game.
Correct.
But we will see. They have still a ton left to announce. We know that Double Fine is also already in pre-production for the next game after Psychonauts. There's a ton to come. And the future for Xbox is really exciting.
There's no doubt about it. I mean, again, on the heels of hardware in 2020, which is it's an incredible piece of tech. Both pieces of hardware are incredible pieces of tech, and then you look at what they have coming out this year. Again, I put that list together that was outside of their first party stuff, but when you compile their first party output, which is 5 games supposedly, and then you add all of the games that I talked about in the in my initial lead up to it, where you're talking about Warhammer, The Gunk, The Ascent, Bright Memory Infinite, The Last Night, Crossfire X, Stalker, Scorn, Second Extinction, The Medium, Tunic, 12 Minutes. It's crazy. It's a crazy list. And to think that almost every one of these games is going to be in Xbox Game Pass, 2021 is looking to be a stacked year for gaming for sure. But VJ, let's bring you in on the conversation. Now, again, you have had the conversation with us regarding multiple reports and posts from Klobrille. And it's safe to say that he is, again, more right than he has ever been wrong. And this is a list that he believes in. Now, again, I'm sure there's going to be a game or two that moves up and moves down for a multitude of reasons. But knowing that these could be, in fact, the games that Xbox players get in the next 4 years, including 2021, 2022, 2023, and potentially 2024, it is a very, very exciting time to be an Xbox supporter or player, but this certainly could open the door for new customers. What are your thoughts on his list?
I'll take this a little bit of a different way, Boom. I'm not someone who's sort of entirely invested in sort of speculating on release dates and what titles will or won't make an appearance or in what fashion, i.e. a trailer or actual gameplay. What I will say, though, is that looking at the list, is that to a high degree, it's all inevitable, right? I think we can pretty much all agree on that. But as Archimedes was speaking, it kind of made me want to echo what he's actually been speaking about since 2020, since I've been a panel member with you, which is when will we ever see a glimpse of gameplay from you?
Thank you.
Whoever this lady or gentleman is, I'm sorry that I'm not that familiar with the person.
Well, Klobrille is. I would like to say that he's a dude, but I can't say for sure because I don't know
which lady would call himself toilet seat. He's a German dude, and Klobrille means toilet seat. So
the kind of girls that you used to date. So let's not go there. So anyway, but I would request him or her to go away and please give us a list with predictions of where we might see gameplay. I think that would really appeal to all of the audience. But don't misconstrue what I'm saying. I'm not asking about Xbox to show gameplay today. I think they're well within their rights and they can provide that when and once the teams are good and ready to do so. That's all fine. However, even trying to sort of predict release dates at a very unpredictable time in history is kind of folly, really. I mean, takes me back to what Boromir said, not with 10,000 men could you do this, But anyway, what I'm saying is that there are other issues at Xbox that definitely need oiling out, so to speak. The games being produced at Xbox may well all be really good games. Some might perhaps be excellent, and what I'm hoping for, at least for 2 or 3 to be possibly genre-defining games. This is fundamentally what I've been saying last year, and I still believe, is that it's the final frontier for Phil and Xbox to overcome. And what I'm most looking forward to, especially with the talent that they have on hand, on tap, if I may be so bold to say so. I think it's all about quality, not quantity. And I'd like to point that out. Xbox may outnumber their rivals, but do they truly outgun them? And the proof will be in the pudding, as they say. And I think, as I said, Boom, today and before, as much as I castigate Microsoft, they really are set up to knock everything out of the park. We all know, at the end of the day, competition should ideally breed competence and even excellence. And 3-Bit would know this, given the industry that he's in, and it's very competitive. And I don't just mean amongst the 23-odd Xbox studios and counting, but amongst Xbox competitors as well. And that's effectively what's driven Microsoft to come out fighting this gen. I want Xbox to succeed in making sort of, how can I put it, my nostrils quiver, like an old warhorse scenting battle. Sorry, my mind's being cast back to Ghost of Tsushima, but better just put that away for now. But so rather than numbers and predictions, I would like Xbox to show us the journey, at least on a quarterly basis. I know we're always pointing to E3, but wouldn't it be great with so many studios, that a few development diaries here and there, don't have to show too much, but just to sort of keep our dreams and our alive, in our minds at least. At the moment, it's very much sort of future promise, as we know. Sort of the eye of love is very singular, unique, mysterious, sort of individualistic, and sometimes even baffling. But just some commentary, in and around, or some news, and I think they've been doing that, Boom, actually throughout November and December, and I'm hoping that this month, and obviously, their focus should be on the mediums, I believe. But yeah, I think there's so many studios, there's so much opportunity. I think the PR department must be besides themselves, not knowing what to go with first or what to lead with, and I think that will make for some fascinating shows going forward this year, Boom. I think you've got a tremendous amount to look forward to, and as we all have. So in closing, Boom, I'm looking forward to the marvels ahead, and a few hopefully angelic flutters in my heart, or as you would say, Boom, mic drop moments. And yeah. I guess that's everything from my point of view, Boom. We could go on for hours, but I better just stop there before I completely bore everyone to tears.
Listen, no one's ever bored by the way you break things down so elegantly, for sure. VJ, 3-Bits, VGHD. Let's get your opinion on this, because look, one of the things, as long as Sony and Microsoft are swimming in the same pool with Nintendo, there's no doubt that gamers are going to be looking at the other side of the pool to see if their side is better, right? I think it's safe to assume that we're always going to be looking, especially if you're an Xbox player. Now, if the Sony games you don't care about, then I hear you, but I do. I care about them because that's why I own a PlayStation 5. But I think that with this list, what this does is, and again, this is not an official list from Microsoft. This is from someone who's considered to be a very valuable member of the community, but also a steadfast industry insider. And he is the first person that I know to have put a list together where we can see these names in order and where he thinks they're going to come. And he's very confident about this list. For anyone that might have given up on Xbox and they read this, I think that this is a proclamation to say, come on back to Team Green, because the next 4 years is going to be incredible. And mind you, Phil Spencer has said they have several, he didn't say a few, several unannounced projects that he will be revealing this year and he is excited for. You put those extra things that we don't know about on top of this ridiculous list, my God, it's a great time to be an Xbox gamer. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I just want to say, from VJ's point, everything I do try and bring this to this panel is my fan side of being a huge Xbox fan and growing up with the Xbox brand, but also sprinkle in a little bit of my industry experience here and there. And I think this list, it seems very feasible. I love speculating on what's coming with different games, and it definitely makes sense. And it's a good amount of games to play this year. If I had to guess any of those games being delayed into the next year, if I just had to guess, it'd probably be Forza Horizon, just to guess, but we'll see. We know they're building a whole new engine for the game, and if they want to create a ripple effect from the first release of Forza on the new engine to the next, it makes sense that they would develop a lot of tools for the first title to reuse for the other Forza games. That's just my speculation on that. But 2021, this year already has, based on his list, already has a ton of games on Xbox I'm looking forward to. In Halo Infinite, Starfield, Scorn, that gross game I'm really looking forward to, and Crossfire X being the highlights of what you can expect this year. Because, you know, the new thing you're going to hear, we're going to start hearing around the media, most likely is, Xbox may have 23 studios, but you have to wait years to play any of these games. I've already seen a couple comments say that, and well, this list shows a bunch of games you can look forward to this year. And,
Yes.
and I'm definitely looking forward to Halo Infinite, of course, which is at the top of my list. But I'm also looking forward to trying out games like Stalker and even Starfield. If Starfield comes out this year, and I could see it being announced as an exclusive at E3, which will blow people's minds. E3 is usually in June, and a lot of people are definitely going to freak out about that if it is announced as an exclusive. And yeah, a lot of these games I'm really looking forward to. And what I'm most interested in is how the marketing for Halo is going to go. They definitely not wasted a lot of money, but they put a lot of money into the Halo Infinite commercials and products for the game. And it looks like maybe they're going to have to do it again for when it comes out again. And 2023 is going to be a killer year for Xbox. That is, based on this list, that is their OP year with the next Doom game and a spinoff of Halo, which I've seen rumors about, and I can sort of confirm that I've heard some rumblings about it. And I would love to see a third-person Halo game, but that's just me.
Me too. I'm right there with you. I agree.
Yeah, or some type of next-gen ODST sequels. I love talking about these things, and I'm excited. This year, we're definitely getting the awesome breakfast with the bacon and waffles, and then we get the lunch and dinner for the next few years of Xbox. But yeah, if anything, what is really awesome about a lot of these games that we're seeing is these are all like different studios, possibly collaborating with each other, and the collaboration of technology is going to be very awesome. It's something I already see in my work of studios just sharing stuff with each other, and that's something people don't really think about is when someone like the Coalition, they figure stuff out with the Unreal Engine. They're owned by Microsoft. They're going to share that technology with some other studio. We actually seen that technology with the Sea of Thieves dev teams, where they shared their water technology with a couple other studios, and how they actually developed it purely through the cloud, which is amazing technology.
If I can add to that conversation, if you didn't already know, Hive Busters, the foliage that is incredible to look at in that world, that DLC is the foliage engine that's going to be used for Fable by Playground Games. That's confirmed.
That's amazing. Yeah, so we're already seeing it. We're already seeing it in a couple of instances, and to me, that is exciting as an animator. I think sharing technologies between studios, now that Xbox owns all these 23 studios, not they're going to get better not only with the money side of things, but they're also going to get better because of these studios being now in contact with each other, and I think that's also very exciting for this list.
Yeah, and I absolutely agree. And folks, listen, this has been a great, incredible 2+ hour show. We apologize for both the hour change, because obviously I had to take care of some personal health business with Mrs. Boomstick, and thankfully we are still feeling fine. And of course, we had a couple of technical issues in the beginning that have been rectified. So of course, we started a little bit later than I would have wanted, but folks, we're here. You're here. I definitely appreciate it. And of course, we already had 2 people step away. And if you don't know, Zemi Games has now transitioned to the Constant Gamer. Definitely go over to theconstantgamer.com. Check out his website. Definitely give him a follow at the Constant Gamer on Twitter. He is rebranding, and he's got some big plans for his channel, as well as, of course, his website. Currently, there is a few things up there you can do. I am currently writing a Resident Evil quiz that is going to go live hopefully next week. I'll be done over the weekend, and I'll get that out to him. I am definitely one of the writers for that website, and definitely check that out. And of course, Mr. Badbit making his triumphant return from a very, very serious COVID-19 scare where him and his entire family had to battle it for over 2 weeks. Thankfully, there's been no fatalities. Everyone is recovering. And, of course, best wishes to him. If you don't know who Mr. Badbit is and you're new to this program, you definitely got to check out his PlayStation-centric show called The Trophy Room. Is definitely a podcast you should check out. It is non-toxic. It is non-fanboyery. It is definitely run very similar to this program. It's done with one of his best friends, Kyle, that he grew up with, and they put on a fantastic show each and every week. And of course, let's get to the rest of the outros. And Boxer Bear, Archimedes, you've been killing it with content, and you just put up your opinion on the Indiana Jones deal and why you think it is going to be exclusive, and that is getting some serious traction. Tell everyone about where they can check out your outstanding YouTube channel, but more importantly, strike up a conversation with you on social media.
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much for having me again on the show. It's always a highlight of my week when I get to talk gaming with my buddies. You can find me on YouTube and every social media channel at Boxenberger. Like you said, I just put up yesterday a video about the Indiana Jones announcement and what we can expect, when we can expect it, and what about the exclusivity. And if you are into this kind of content, definitely check my channel out. Put a lot of work into the channel. It's a really fantastic, or became a really fantastic hobby of mine. Otherwise on Twitter, I'm very active, and you can also add me on Xbox Live or PlayStation Network.
Well, thank you so much for being here, brother. Definitely appreciate it. We had a super chat come in from Alexander Dark 91, who drops an outstanding, very generous $2 super chat and says, E3 isn't enough anymore. We need more shows. Indeed, my brother, we certainly do. I just don't know, with COVID being the way it is, could we see any more shows being added to what we already see in 2021? It's a possibility, but I think that we're definitely going to get an E3. I'll say this publicly. Jeff Keighley did one hell of a job for the Game Awards 2020. And if Microsoft and Sony and Nintendo could adopt and work with him on a big E3 show where they each get their time in the sun, so to speak, and it's done the same way the Game Awards was done, we're going to have an E3 that we're never going to forget, even though we're not physically there. Again, I know that I have said this. I respect Jeff. I think that he is someone that this industry needs. I may not agree with some of the things he does. I've been public about that for sure. We've had conversations online, him and I. But I think what him and his team pulled off this past December was magnificent. And I'd love to see E3 return in a big way using that exact format. But VJ, let's get to you, my brother. What have you been up to? Are you going to be appearing on any other shows? And more importantly, where could people reach out to you on social media?
Yes, Boom. I'm just trying to get things back to normal. Hopefully, they will do over the next few months or so. It's really difficult to sort of predict at the moment. But anyway, just a quick outro here, Boom. My apologies that to you and the panel that I'm not sure if I was on point with any of my answers to your questions, rightly or wrongly. I always seem to go off on a tangent. But anyway, again, thank you for your patience and having me back on the show. Thanks to the panel and the community in the chat for being really great. And if anybody's interested, they can find me on Twitter at Viewpoint Gaming. And more often than not, you can find me on Mr. Tushi's community gaming nights on Saturdays. And I'm looking forward to next week.
Well, definitely appreciate you coming back, brother. We definitely missed you. And yes, we'll be back next week. Same bat time, same bat channel as 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And last, in no way least, our resident animator, 3-bit, known as the Video Game HD. Welcome back, my brother. It's great to have you a part of today's show. Tell everyone about where they can check out your YouTube channel. And you just dropped a new video on that channel. And tell everyone about where they can reach out to you on social media.
Yeah, everyone can follow me on Twitter. It's the VGHD, and my YouTube channel is the Video Games HD. I did drop a funny little Indiana Jones video on there that you guys could check out, and I will be on the Stubbs Cast, sort of talking about my industry experience, my background. So if anyone wants to know anything about that, that goes live today. But yeah, thanks so much to the panel for a great discussion. I always love talking about the future of games and what the potentials are. And it's great to be on the Xbox Factor podcast with you guys every week. So thanks, guys.
Well, it's great to definitely have you a part of it. And someone in the panel, I'm not in the panel, in the chat, I want to give a shout out. Pong Soul. That's right, my brother. You heard your name called live on the air. He is going to be making his first time appearance on not this Monday's, but next Monday's Primetime Gaming. And that is thanks to some people in the community like Dan the Man Cunningham, who suggested that he be picked to be a part of that show as a guest appearance. And yes, he will be making his guest appearance 2 weeks from this 1 week from this Monday, not this Monday, the following Monday. He'll be making his debut on the show, Pong Soul. We look forward to hearing from you, brother. So get ready for Primetime Gaming. Listen, folks, this has been a great show. I want to thank the over 400 people that tuned in. Of course, I want to thank the super chats. We did have one just come in from Safe Space Invader, who drops an outstanding $2 super chat and says, great job, guys. Man, I am pumped for this year. And yes, I am right there with you. It's going to be a great year to be a gamer, especially if you support multiple consoles like many people on this panel. But listen, I'm going to close out the show with something important to me. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And I think this world needs this more now than ever. And it's something that my dad taught me. He used to say, son, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, and I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone, and we'll see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Factor podcast.